I've started putting up the tongue and groove flooring, going down really nice. I'm really happy with the way it looks underneath. Nice and clean, getting good tight edges on it. A little bit of a trick I use for that, and I'll show you when I get up there. The very first thing I had to do before I could start putting any of this flooring on was to make me a ledger board. And you can see I've countersunk it here on my layout, and I've attached that with 3.5-inch torque screws. I have cut a groove in the log, 1.75 inches wide and 1.25 inches deep, and set the edges of the boards right in that groove. But this turned out where there's a chinking gap right where they would go. And so I had to do something a little different. There wouldn't have been any way I could have got a good clean line down through there. So I opted to put a ledger up, and I've got a chamfer on it right here, and I brought it 8 inches out from the end of it, just like I did on the joist. The first thing I'm doing to get these boards ready to put up, I'm squaring this just one end that'll actually set on the ledger. Then I'm going to come back and drill where I'll put the screws, and I'm going to countersink them. And I've got some 1/2-inch oak dowels. I'm using a 1/2-inch spade bit to countersink these holes. And I'll show you that in just a minute. But first I'm going to get these 2 ends cut off. I'm doing my layout for the screws now, and I'm coming in from the end 3/4 inch. Then I'm coming down, well, my marks, actually made a mark on top of my tape so I wouldn't have to remember the numbers. 23 3/4, 50 1/2, 77 1/4, 104 1/4. I'm laying out 2 at a time here. That's what I've got room to do. I'm using my speed square, just putting it on that mark, and I'm coming in 1 inch from either edge right here. So I'll mark that at 1 inch on that side and 5 inches on this side. There's 1 inch and 5. I'll take my awl and make a little point there so I can put my drill bit there for have it centered where it needs to be. Now I'll mark this where I can make sure that my drill bit starts in the right place, doesn't wander around on me. I marked the end of my bit with just a piece of tape to kind of give me an idea of how deep to go with these. I don't want to go too deep. I'm lining up this end with the previous board that I've got anchored down. It's already screwed. And I've got a block here that has the groove on it, and I just cut the tongue off, and I'm just setting that up there. And I've got a wedge and a block here with some screws in it. I'm just going to set that right there and anchor this little block down. And it's just a pretty blunt wedge. I've got it to where I can tap on this end and take it back out. And I can pull this in. These tongues and grooves are pretty snug. And so I've got it to where now I can tighten that up. And I'll leave this as it is, and I'll go to the other end and put another one on. The same setup. I can tighten this up and get it real snug here. And if I have to, I can put another one out there in the middle, which I think this is pretty good. I'm anchoring this with 3-inch Torx screws. I can just take my hammer and just tap that right back out. Take these off. I'm really happy with how this flooring turned out with the V-edge on the bottom. I'm really pleased with that. It's nice and tight. I'll spray this eventually with some polyurethane, a satin type finish. I don't want it real shiny. I like the way the little pegs look on that ledger board. I put the little star carving on the ends of them like I do on any peg. I just like the way that looks. It's nice and clean. Let the board stick over an inch on the outside of this joist here. I'll probably come back with a router and a round over bit, and on the top side of the floor I'll round that off. I'm trying to stand back here in the corner so you can see the entire floor with it all down. I'll come back and sand this floor and put a good hard finish on it. But right now I'm filling up these little recessed holes with a peg. And you can see I have cut that peg just a little bit proud of the floor. Over here we can see that maybe just a little bit better. I'm going to come back and sand that peg down with a random orbital. I'm blowing out these countersunk holes here. Get all the dust out of them before I put any glue in them. I'm just taking a little bit of this edge off with a piece of sandpaper, or actually a piece of sanding disc. That'll let that get started in the hole a little bit easier. I'm putting just a little bit of glue in there. I don't want to fill it completely up. I'll take my hammer, set that right there, tap it in till I feel it to bottom out. Well, turn that one upside down. Now I'm going to take my multi-tool and I'm going to cut that. I'm not trying to cut it flush with the floor, just up just a little bit. I'll come back and sand that off. I'm using a random orbital sander to sand these pegs, the tops of them, down pretty flush with the floor. Well, that chore is done. I've got all of the little holes filled with a oak dowel, sanded down so I don't trip myself over it. I'm happy with the way that turned out.